This is my submission for the Animation 388 Motion Capture Final Project. The idea for this project was to create a talking head based on the Haunted Mansion ride in Walt Disney World. At the very end of the ride, there's a video projection mapped talking face on these busts. And the idea for this project was to reimagine that and give a little more of a real-time experience to allow an actor to interact with the audience in the ride, to give some more artist control over the facial expressions happening, and to use a more consistent facial capture software called MediaPipe. The results of this were overall pretty promising. The method was to use blend poses to take in real-time data from MediaPipe and then adjust values to move between different facial expressions and then blend together to make new facial expressions. The skull itself came from a photogrammetry exercise from the beginning of the term. I photogrammetry captured a skull, brought it in, cleaned it up, and then spent a lot of time molding and modeling it to make it airtight and to fix the topology to the point where it was posable. So the process began by setting up locators within Maya to take in the data from MediaPipe. I picked several key points on the face relative to the areas that I wanted to animate. So the eyebrows, the top of the eye, the bottom of the eye, a cheek, a corner of the mouth, and top and bottom of the lips, and the center of the nose. And then translated the coordinates of those points from MediaPipe to world space in Maya, and then connected those points with curves, constraining them with cluster deformers, and then took the length of that curve and then measured the maximum, minimum, and sort of the middle of those ranges based on facial expressions, and then applied those values to the blend poses. Regarding MediaPipe, operates a little differently than FaceOSC from the beginning of the term. It places about 496, I believe, markers on the face, and then you can measure the relative distance between those markers by getting their world space to alter the poses set up in advance. Setting up the blend poses was one of the greater challenges of the project. I had to go in and sculpt various facial expressions and sort of done in a logical way that they would be able to blend together to make something. There was a couple mistakes. For example, you'll see two open mouth expressions. Initially, I thought this would be a good idea, and a tutorial that I was following for blend poses recommended it. But in reality, it's best to have one open mouth expression, sort of a neutral expression, and then have various closed mouth states because of the amount of clipping that can happen from double transforming your mouth. A lot of weight painting was involved initially when I thought I was going to do split poses. So half of the face could be animated in one direction and half could do the other. In reality, that proved far too difficult because of the amount of weight painting and poses that were going into it. In the end, I ended up only taking the right side of the face and applying the data from those points to the entire face. Once the blend poses were set up, you can scrub through, increasing the values on a scale of 0 to 1, and actually create different facial expressions, new facial expressions, from the sort of extreme ones that exist. In the end, I was pretty happy with the way the project turned out, but there were a few issues that I ran into, namely the depth from the camera. In this type of facial capture, it would have been far more efficient to have the camera fixed to the sort of the actor's head with a helmet or some other type of device, as it, I believe, is done generally in professional capture. The big reason for that is the depth from the camera. Even slight alterations of the movement of the face can change the distance between points and cause a lot of strange artifacts to show up in the animation. Another problem was a lot of noise in the animation. I had to go through on the graph editor and set a lot of dead zones when keying the driven keys, so that a lot of the small movements got filtered out. And then finally, another issue I had was MediaPipe uses a ton of interpolation. You can actually cover half of your face, and based on the movements of the side that's visible, it will move the covered side of the face Generally, this is far better than Face OSC because you lose tracking a lot less, but you find that with more extreme expressions, sometimes you'll lose certain areas of your face and not necessarily get the poses that you want. Particularly with the eyebrows in this project, it was very difficult to manipulate them given the amount of interpolation going on.